a big thank you to the Arkansas Venture Center for putting the manpower behind getting presenters ready, recruiting them, and also setting up every single week. Web-JIVE and Design Matters for helping us produce awesome video content every single week, which is a huge valuable asset for each one of our presenters because now they have a digital copy of this experience that can be shared with the masses. So please check that out. Also, hit up all of our sponsors, get to know them, find out ways that they can help you, and then enjoy your West Rock coffee as well, which is a sponsorship through the Little Rock Chamber. Yeah, so like I said, social media, give our sponsors a shout out too on that. All right, so now we're going to transition over to our next presenter. I'm really excited about this one because this goes way back for me. I met this person when I was 4 years old. We became best friends actually through a fight. We won't get into who won that fight or who didn't, but we had some arguments over some toys. And grew up together here in Little Rock. He went on to graduate from Grinnell College in Des Moines, Iowa. Then went on to work for Dwolla, which is the company that you're going to be hearing about today. But this person, despite being in Des Moines, Iowa, still has a passion for building the community here in Little Rock and was a big part of putting together the Little Rock Startup Weekend that happened last year that really helped fuel a lot of the momentum in our community around startups and entrepreneurship. He was the co-organizer with me, and he'll also be doing more community events, and if we're lucky, we can get him to move back here sometime. Also, he won't tell you this, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. You can also find Max on YouTube from a TEDx. So he has an awesome talk from TEDx Des Moines about hip-hop and about how it can change your life. And so check that out afterwards. And now I'm going to hand it off to Max so he can tell you a little bit about his story and why he's passionate about what he's doing now. Stand on this side and just nod at me.
So I got to nod at you? All right. Good morning. How are we all doing today? That is good. My goodness. I just have to say, this is fantastic to see so many people showing up, period, but showing up on a work day in the morning to build community. So I would like to start off by having you all give yourselves a round of applause just for being here. So there we go. So as Jordan had mentioned, my name is Max Farrell. I'm originally from Little Rock. I am a Central High grad, so that is proof in the pudding. Go Tigers. And I moved to Iowa, went to college there, got lost studying and living in South Africa for years, got curious about entrepreneurship, and found my way to Dwolla, where I now build as a business development and jack of all trades guy. You got to really wear a lot of different hats in a startup. So I'll jump in. We got a limited amount of time. So Dwolla is a payment network, and we do one thing, one mission, one goal, and it's to build the ideal way to move money. So it's a big concept that we had to slowly and steadily break down and continue to scale out this idea, turn it into working concepts and products that we could then grow. So how we got here was because our founder, who you see here, his name is Ben Milne, grew up in Iowa and ran a speaker company, sold speakers all across the United States, even internationally, and was making over $1 million in revenue annually. But because of all the money he was making in selling things online, he lost about $55,000 annually to credit card fees. So for a lot of you that are small business owners, you know what $55,000 can do to grow your business. You know, that's adding one or two other people to expand the operation. That's maybe buying more products so you can actually sell more. And for him, he got so fed up with the fact that he couldn't grow because he was trapped by this 3 or 4% that was getting taken away with no real reason why, that he sold off that company and launched Dwolla, where we are building that ideal way to move money. So a little bit of background on how a lot of the money moves in case you all don't realize it. So if you see here, this is how we all interact with credit cards. It's about a 16-step process from us receiving a card to going to a store and cashing out and swiping to a business actually receiving the money. So as you see here, despite the fact that I'll go and go on to the river market, swipe my card, it'll take about 2 business days for the company to even receive their money. And at the end of the day, they're only getting about 97% of what I gave them. And our core belief is that a dollar should be worth a dollar. Value should not disappear as we move it from one place to another. And as we dug deeper, we started to realize there's actually even bigger problems that have been created from these networks, that there's millions of people affected by identity fraud. Billions are getting lost every year because of this, because credit cards get jacked. I think a few of you have heard of this, this company called Target and some breaches that may have occurred there. And it's things like that because sensitive financial information is actually exposed when you're using your debit or credit card, 16 digits that anybody can swipe and use. And then we looked at a lot of the less sexy payment options like checks. Turns out checks affect $13.1 billion for small businesses annually. And again, that same financial information is shared at the bottom, your account and routing number. You know, it looks like a bunch of numbers, but that's actually really valuable information that somebody can take and then hijack your financial data. So for us, we started to take a really wholesome approach to the concept of money. And we came up with this belief that really money is data. At the end of the day, at a core of a transaction, what I want to do is move money from my bank account to your bank account. That's all we want. We want the money in our account where it's secure. But what's happened, as you saw earlier, is that there's numerous middlemen inside the process. And so if you think about a spreadsheet, how you have different sheets, you can move a number from B2 to C4 on a different sheet relatively easily, yet it doesn't lose its value when you do that, so why should our money do the same way? So what we launched is Dwolla, as I had mentioned. And as you see here, our motto is on our wall at the office. That's our founder, hustling, doing his thing. And it's allow anyone or anything connected to the internet to move money at as low a cost as possible, as secure as possible, and as fast as possible. So we came up with those 3 simple tenets for pricing. We only charge 25 cents a transaction for anything above $10. I know, you dig that, right? It's free for anything $10 and under. So microtransactions are absolutely free. For security, we don't share financial information across transactions. So what you see when I exchange on a transaction is my name and my Dwolla ID. You don't see my bank account information. You don't see a card because we don't use those. And then we also don't use debit or credit cards because of the pricing structure. We can't control it. Rather, we link with bank accounts. And as far as quickness, our goal as a company is to always move money to move as close to real time as possible. And it's a really big idea. It's a really big challenge because while we have the illusion that money does move real time, it will take several days for it to actually arrive in one of our accounts. So what we've built out is a API-based payment network. So as you see here, we've got a whole bunch of different players that can use Dwolla and integrate. So we have banks and credit unions that plug in so that their members can move money to and from one another. We've got government. So the state of Iowa actually uses Dwolla to receive tax payments from citizens and companies. So I can pay my vehicle tax. People will pay their fuel tax if they're a trucking company. If you look at e-commerce, we actually have people that accept Dwolla as a payment option on their website. And so they'll use Dwolla to move money from their bank or one of the other options that we offer so that people can easily get the goods that they want and not lose value across the transaction. P2P. I send money to my friends all the time for things I owe them. I don't write them a check. I don't want them to lose 3% because I swipe a card. It's really simple. And as you see here, we break it down a little bit more. So we tie in with developers. So a lot of what we want to do is really scale out the operation. So we want to empower others to use our platform. At the end of the day, if you never know who Dwolla is and we're moving money, we're doing a damn good job doing it. And so we do things like a facilitator fee where you can add money on top of it. So companies that say, hey, we have a software and we charge an extra % for what you do, cool, use our platform to move that money. And we offer our own internal tools, so things like a mass pay, where you can pay out thousands of vendors, contractors, individuals, whoever it may be, for a really low cost. There's a company that's based here in Central Arkansas called Bourbon and Boots that actually uses us to pay out their vendors. And so it's little things like that that we all forget about in how we do our business on a day-to-day basis that can really make a difference in how we grow and scale our operations. So I mentioned we're fighting to get towards that idea of real time. And if you learn about the current networks or know about them, you realize that ACH is a batch network. The card networks lose value. They have their own security issues. Wire is an extremely manual process. And so what we've built out is things like Dwolla Direct, where you can sign up quickly, verify your bank account, move money quickly without sharing a lot of information. Next day bank transfers from one bank to the Dwolla network. You can actually, and one of our big things that we're building, which will be that pie in the sky, is a network that we call FiSync, which allows for financial institutions to plug into Dwolla where we plug into the core, and allows for real-time transactions from a financial institution through Dwolla to another one, which, as I mentioned earlier, is the core of what we want in a transaction. And we've got one credit union based in Iowa that we're currently rolling that out with. It works amazingly well. And Dwolla as a company has grown a lot. We've gotten investment from Andreessen Horowitz in San Francisco, Union Square Ventures in New York City. We've got 4 offices, about 60 people, and over 500,000 people inside the network. And so we have a long, long way to go. This is progress, but we realize the battle's only beginning if we're really going to change the ways, the habits, and the mindset of how people interact with money. So, also, there's one Arkansan on the team, so that's why I'm here. But, it's been a really fascinating ride to take a lot of that knowledge, bring it back here, and do things like startup weekends, and see what happens as a result of that, and see how the communities are growing. So, I just wanted to mention that piece. So, as we think about stories and the power of what we do every day as people that work inside organizations or small business owners or musicians, and how we affect people's lives, we captured a few different tweets where people were really excited about what their experience with Dwolla. So the lady over here on the left is talking about how she paid her vehicle tax with Dwolla. Didn't have to go wait in line at the DMV to drop it off. Didn't have to pay 4% for a fee. She just moved money and went on. Somebody else was saying, hey, I just made a payment to another business and it only cost me 25 cents. This is a game changer. I'm not writing checks anymore. And down here, somebody was receiving money for an invoice, and they used Dwolla, and so they said, man, we're done using checks. And stories like that really validate what we do is worth fighting for. And so as we all look for the own stories in our own lives, that's something that is compelling for us. So I know it's question time, so I came up with a few different topics that you could ask me about if you're curious. And yeah, we'll dig in.
Eric Mulville with Web-JIVE. I have a question for you. When it comes to moving money, there's inside the states, there's some of the challenges, but what about other countries like India? Infrequently, we have to work with for some reason, we've got some system that's been developed over there that we have to work with them, but we also have to pay them. Right now, PayPal and some bank transfers are our only real method. Does Dwolla go into other countries?
We hope to soon. As we think about growing our own company, one of the things that we have to focus on is where can we win? What can we know that we do well? And we know that we can move money well inside the U.S., and we want to make sure that we figure that out and really make it thrive here before we decide to scale it to other countries. So I would love to be that pain point because I hear it from companies every single day. This is a global economy. We're getting there. Yeah.
David with Acorn Hours. How are the banks reacting to Dwolla? Do you guys have good relationships with banks, or is there tension there with them integrating with your systems?
So the banks and the networks that they use, people got a lot of feelings, but the bank networks are very stodgy and take their time and how they evolve. So the ACH network, which is the core of how pretty much all of our money moves in batches. So when you move money from your regions account, at the end of the day, they lump all that amount together and then send it out, and then it gets dispersed to everybody else. So there's not an element of real time. You know, like I said, you may have the illusion. And this ACH network, they recently had a vote where people got together and said, all right, do we want to make this network faster? It's been in place for 40 years. The same way that we move money hasn't evolved for 40 years. And they got together and said, you know what? We're going to set up a date to discuss this and maybe go real time in the near future, maybe. So that's how the banks are thinking about it. So it really does take a third-party player to jump in and build out a network that others can latch onto. The credit and debit card networks are effective. They do move money from point A to point B, and they have their valid use points, but they have a lot of legacy technology that burdens them from creating something like this or even lowering their fees because of all the middlemen that they've built into their system. So in short, you know, the banks are aware. Some are interested, some are more hesitant, but progress is being made. Yes.
I'm going to cook with Dwolla as a small business, or we use PayPal. Is there any way we could connect in with you and work better?
Yes. So we do offer a variety of different tools and products for small businesses like yourself to use. So let's talk afterwards and we can dig a lot deeper. But if you're needing to invoice, we've got things, different tools that you can use, or you can integrate with one of our partners. GoDaddy's Get Paid solution just announced that they were plugging Dwolla in to use it because they realize that small businesses like yourself don't want to lose value as they receive an invoice or pay out to their contractors or other people that they work with. So there's a few different things we can solve for you. Yeah, was there a question here? No? Oh, yes. Yeah, so heck, I should have brought the straight up product pitch. But yeah, so when you're moving money, being the accountant's best friend is extremely important. And so what we do offer is we offer statements. We offer CSV files that you can import into accounting software. And all of that information is updated in real time on our platform because, once again, our core value is to move money in real time. You shouldn't get your information in batches. So I would say we appease to any of your needs on that front. Yes, sir.
Eric, Web-JIVE again. Bitcoin, where do you see yourselves in relationship with that? Is that something you're going to try and incorporate as a currency, or do you see it as a competition?
So Bitcoin is a really fascinating concept, idea, but also virtual currency. And I think really started to validate that if people believe that something has value and everyone agrees with it, then it does establish itself as some form of currency. So Bitcoin is something that we used to work with exchanges. For us to grow up as a company, we realized we had to really focus on our relationships with government partners and financial institutions and phase some of those out. But it's really validated itself as a something of value. One of the biggest ways that we can all validate that something is meaningful is when the government says something about it and has feelings about it. And the IRS now says that Bitcoin is value that you have to account for in your taxes. So it's now becoming very real for all of us. So I would say in due time, we'll figure out what aspects of Bitcoin for all of us to exchange with become a meaningful piece of how we exchange.
What are some of your general responsibilities within the company, and how do you sort of play with exchanging those different hats?
Yeah, so it was business development. Yeah, it's all good. It's I'm developing business. So I know it's intentionally built that way. So the role that I play inside Dwolla, I was with the company since it was about 10 people, and so we've grown it to over 60 now. So some of the biggest things that I focus on are growing our relationships with existing partners. So we've got a lot of great places like the state of Iowa, various departments inside their government, or GoDaddy, or credit partners, or financial institutions, or even just software companies that use Dwolla and then work with thousands of other people. So I work hard to make sure that our company is growing and scaling with these people that are growing their operations. I work to do outbound build-outs, so build out new pipelines for us to continue to grow beyond what we currently have. And then there's elements of making sure that our product is developing to what our partners need and what our market opportunity is. And then also marketing is making sure that we communicate with all those people. So it's a combination of partner relations, marketing, and product build out. Any other questions, thoughts?
last question?
Yes, sir. What's up? Or now? Yeah, absolutely. We've got I don't even know how many companies that are using it to pay out for expense reimbursement. So instead of just people sending receipts and maybe getting paid 6 or 8 weeks later, they build out some sort of tool using Dwolla's API or use it manually and reimburse. Some companies use it for payroll. I know a lot of consultants will use it to reimburse. So one consulting company, 5 consultants disperse after they receive funds. So yeah, we absolutely can solve for that.
We have time for one more question. Anyone?
Hey. So right now I'm wearing my Dwolla hat, but let's talk afterwards.
All right.
There's some YouTube videos. I can show you some links.
Well, Max, I appreciate you coming out. So, like we did with the first presenter, what is the one thing that we can do as a community to help support you and Dwolla here in Little Rock?
Goodness, there's just. First off, I'm just thrilled to see all the folks here. This is amazing to see. Y'all done good, buddy. I'd say the biggest thing for Dwolla as a company is, one, talk to me afterwards, and let's figure out how we can work together. The second is go check out Dwolla.com and search for it on Google. See what we've been cooking up and see where we're going. We're working hard to position ourselves in a lot of different places around thought leadership in smart government and places like that. So let's talk. I'm here to learn as well. So let's make it a mutual exchange.
Thank you. Give it up for Max.